it's not a publicity stunt this time. This is the bit that has the streets wondering. Insiders are blaming Camron himself for the footage that has surfaced of Chrissy Elkin's secret and intimate relationship with Jim Jones. Was Camron just going too far? What would have ruined his relationship with Jones, which lasted for decades? We're discussing backroom negotiations, missed opportunities, and a brotherhood that might have been a lie all along. It's no longer simply about the video. Have you ever witnessed two monarchs suddenly become adversaries? Or was it a premeditated betrayal meant to make Jim look as bad as possible? Instead of keeping quiet, Jim is bursting on all platforms, letting off decades worth of pent-up anger. This is the beginning of the end, so don't blink, scroll, or click away. You would think that what you're about to learn would change your opinion of Camron forever after all these years of street brotherhood and shared experiences. You won't be able to ignore the reality once you hear it. It's not only shocking, it's ugly. If Camron were to become hip-hop royalty, he would have to abide by some unspoken norm, but it appears that loyalty dies in quiet, since what transpired was not only treachery, but radioactive. Let's take a look back. Everything started with a leak, but this one was very explicit and hurtful. A private film featuring Ryde's longtime companion, Chrissy Elkin. After a few hours, Chrissy's face became popular, and the internet did what it does best, alter it in detective mode. At first, some thought it was a deepfake, and later, they thought it was an ancient video. One of Jim Jones's most revered matriarchs, or Die, suddenly surfaced on a dubious burner Twitter account with no followers, no tags, and no captions. Started to surface, TikTok comments went viral, and before anybody could confirm or deny the clip's legitimacy, Twitter was declaring, "Cam did it." However, why would Camron post a video of that nature? How could he benefit from sharing something so personal? Was it spite or retribution? Or was there something darker simmering behind their alleged? Since this wasn't the first time that Cam and Jim had a falling out, let's take a moment to talk about history. You see, Dipset wasn't quite as flawless as it seemed. Behind the vibrant bandanas and eye-catching music videos, there was quiet rivalry about who truly led the crew. Camron, the charismatic mastermind; Jim Jones, the heart and street muscle, as well as ongoing conflict, power struggles, and backdoor business strategies. As their kingdom expanded, more fissures emerged. Subtle barbs in interviews, cryptic Instagram stories, and passive-aggressive rhymes were interspersed with explosive moments, like the well-known 2017 Hot 97 interview, in which Cam disclosed everything from internal rivalries to financial betrayals. Fans were confused as Jim cried, but Cam remained composed. In the early 2000s, Chrissy was a fixture on the scene, not only as Jim's companion, but also as a savvy businesswoman who was making real moves. Do you recall that? We return to that trauma in 2025, but this time it involves Chrissy and family, and not music. The past between Chrissy and Camron is what exacerbates the situation. In hindsight, that might have been the beginning of the silent, simmering animosity that developed over decades, and Camron might have just let it happen with a single leak. At the time, it seemed like innocuous barbershop banter. Rumor had it that Cam disapproved because he believed Chrissy was dictating Jim's business choices. According to some, Cam even attempted to convince Jim to let her go so she could concentrate on her music and become less domesticated. The video was taken more than a decade ago, according to people with knowledge of the situation who talked to us anonymously for their own safety. Somehow, it was a private moment that was never meant to be seen. However, one insider says the footage was stored on a now-defunct Dipset, which makes the situation even more suspect. Days before the leak, Cam and Jim were spotted together at a Rock Nation brunch, posing for pictures, joking like old friends, and even making references to a possible Dipset reunion tour. May have been accidental or the result of intentional retaliation. Additionally, Cam is accused of stealing a hard drive that was only ever accessible by a small group of people. Less than 24 hours after the video went viral, fans flooded Jim Jones's Instagram story with comments that said, "It's Cam. He did it. Dipset is dead forever. Jim is going solo. Watch. The leak actually originated from Cam's camp. Jim Jones added a black screen to his account with just 3 words. I see you. Was it planned out? Was he planning to drop a bomb and act nice? Jim was not silent for long. Family is not touched by you. My wife is not someone you toy with. That video wasn't accidentally delivered to me with malicious intent. Emojis were flying out of the comment area, and many were crying. In just a few minutes, Jim's uncensored, unpolished live feed drew over 120,000 views. There was only anger and sadness. No PR staff, no script. What you people say doesn't matter to me. From the beginning, this man has been envious of me. Jim went on by bringing up old business, but even devoted Dipset fans were picking sides. This is the same dude who told labels I was unreliable and refused to give me tour money in 2011. You want to put the responsibility on Chrissy after I held this group down? You are a complete clown. It was now a public declaration of war, rather than merely a personal betrayal. Opinion pieces, podcast segments, and Twitter conversations about whether Jim was exaggerating or if Cam had gone too far were all over the internet. Even worse was the fact that Cam said nothing, which the public interprets as an admission. Chrissy Lampkin, meanwhile, has a reputation for going 10 minutes without saying anything. Toes down in all storms made a unique approach by archiving all of the images that included Cam, unfollowing him on all platforms, and posting an enigmatic message on her account. We all felt that was betrayal at the soul level, but some of the wounds were too deep. There were no names or faces. To make things worse, an anonymous source disclosed even more horrible details. Purported text messages between Cam and The worst aspect is that Cam hasn't said he didn't send the texts, so it's unclear if he actually did it. Why does he not defend himself? When your name is being dragged through digital purgatory, why not speak up? Or maybe Cam was aware of this. Before a major business deal, a secret industry acquaintance was talking about a scheme to leak something spicy to damage Jim's reputation. Eventually, he would be ready to set everything on fire. But just when we believed that mayhem had peaked, something even more surprising happened. Things took a wild turn, and just when Jim Jones thought he had exposed every secret Camron might be hiding, further betrayals surfaced like a web of lies. Oh, sure, the SMS messages were sincere, but the real kicker is that the leak involved more than simply the video. These alleged texts between Cam and an unnamed industry insider, according to those acquainted with the situation, paint a far harsher picture. In them, Cam talks of planning an entire smear campaign to damage Jim's reputation, in addition to destroying it with a single video leak. The right amount of dirt can break him down. Let's hit him where it hurts. His woman, his money, his fans. That's right, his woman, his money, his fans. All the things Jim Jones holds dear were now tools in Cam's sick game of revenge. The purported message from Industry One also claimed that this industry friend advised Cam to keep it low-key. But Jim's Instagram Live didn't just change the rules, it changed the strategy. Fans and industry insiders were starting to question whether all those years of devotion were simply a botched business arrangement, and the public's opinion of the team was about to suffer significant damage. There were a lot of facts, half-truths, and assumptions on the internet. The topic of discussion shifted from the video to Dipset's whole legacy. For now, let's stand back a bit. It would be the most premeditated act in hip-hop history if Cam did leak the tape as part of a bigger scheme to ruin Jim. Imagine eliminating a brother who has committed the greatest personal betrayals. It would be detrimental to both his job and personal life. Is Cam responsible for this? Was he trying to force Jim out of Dipset? Is this an intentional attempt to take back control of the group? But his private life in the B process without saying a word. When fans looked into Cam's past and found some troubling patterns, the fact that he didn't face it straight away just served to stoke the flames. Fans discovered multiple old photos of Cam with other rappers and his ex-friends, who had been thrown out after they were no longer needed, in a Twitter thread that shocked the internet. He was enjoying the show when it became apparent that Cam wasn't just recognized for crafting hits, but also for inciting hatred. Thus, His tactic of remaining mute was a power move because he knew that the world would turn against Jim. You're done if you cross him. However, other sources claim that Chrissy's video was not the last leak. No, we're discussing... The crazy part is that after pictures, private messages, and financial documents were leaked to several bloggers and questionable outlets who were more than happy to spread the rumors, an unnamed third party who had previously been associated with both Jim and Cam allegedly contacted Jim and Cam separately with offers of deals. There was a catch. They wanted to take charge of the narrative, make money off of the argument, make it public, and turn the whole thing into a show. They even tried to arrange a rumored reconciliation between the two of them. The Puppet Masters. Ultimate objective was to make the rivalry so intense that the two ex-brothers would never be able to reconcile. But this was more than business. It was the ultimate betrayal. It was personal. Thus, is Cam Jim actually in charge of everything? Or is there something more sinister at play? Whatever the truth is, we cannot ignore one thing. The consequences of this scandal will not only affect their friendship, but also their legacies, music, fans, and lives. And we have only just begun to explore them. This isn't just about Jim and Cam anymore. It's about the entire culture of loyalty, betrayal, and ambition that keeps the hip-hop world together. In this jaw-dropping story, the destruction isn't just personal, it's public. And by public we mean explosive. Because what happens when two legends split up in the most disastrous way possible makes the entire industry shudder. As the world watched this feud intensify, something even more sinister began to surface. The financial consequences of this betrayal were beginning to hit harder than any lyric or diss track could. Sources close to both Cam and Jim, who recall having their hands in a number of profitable business ventures, started to leak they are people deep within their circles, including publicists, managers, former label executives, and others. And they are all feeling the effects of this industry feud. It's terrible, really awful. For instance, Jim Jones had multiple endorsement deals that were allegedly put on hold indefinitely. Both men were losing a lot of money because the brand couldn't afford the scandal that was damaging his reputation and didn't want to be linked to the ongoing drama surrounding his personal life. Their partnership with a well-known luxury brand was put on indefinite hold. As for Camron, it turns out that his attempt to rebuild his solo career hit a huge wall, and business partners were pulling out left and right, unsure whether siding with the rapper was the right move. Worth the possible PR catastrophe even. Stranger were rumors of unpaid contracts, dubious financial transactions, and even a claim that Cam was being sued by a former label executive for allegedly mismanaging money. It was obvious that the drama was about more than just the music. It was about survival, and Cam and Jim needed to make some tough choices quickly, or risk both of them dying. Losing everything, followed by the lawsuits, which were the actual business side of the fallout. It seemed as though a legal storm had just arrived, bringing with it a barrage of accusations, counterclaims, and settlements. Jim Jones was the first to go on the defensive, allegedly filing a formal lawsuit against Camron for defamation. The charges included slander, conspiracy, emotional distress, and libel because of the leaked video. Jim's legal team was ready to fight it all the way to court, according to insiders, and they weren't holding back. What was even more shocking was the rumor that Jim was demanding millions of dollars in damages and a public apology from Cam. The claim was so daring that it caught even the most seasoned legal professionals off guard. Camron, on the other hand, wasn't just going to ignore this, but instead he responded with a counterclaim, claiming that Jim had been extorting him for years. He claimed that Jim had used their friendship to steal money and sway business transactions, and now he was pursuing a sizable payout for himself. Amidst all of this turmoil, legal experts predicted that this case could go on for years, and as time went on, the public's perception of both men began to deteriorate even more. Fans who have been there for them since the beginning, who know every word, and who wore every Dipset chain as if it were their own, are the ones who are suffering the most from this mess, which is tearing them apart. At first, fans weren't sure who to believe. Some sided with Jim, saying Cam had crossed a line. Others made the argument that, after years of watching Jim play second fiddle, Cam had good reason to feel betrayed. The underdog narrative was in full force, but it was difficult to ignore the growing rift between the two groups of Dipset supporters until the bombshells came. As fans dug deeper into the story, the more they discovered, the more their allegiance was shattered. Leaked footage revealed Jim's emotional collapse following the video leak, went viral with a particularly eerie video of him questioning his entire career. "Is this how they really feel about me after everything we've been through?" he muttered as he stared at his phone screen. On the other side, Cam remained unconcerned and went silent once more. His only public statement was a tweet that said, "Sometimes the truth hurts, but it has to be said." No clarification, no apology, just a cold, calculated statement. The longer he remained silent, the more people saw a different side of him, a cunning, self-serving businessman who would stop at nothing to maintain control. Some fans took to social media to defend their favorite rapper, while others abandoned ship. The entire Dipset fan base was split, and the industry took action. He knew the impact that would be caused by this. The more they quarreled, the less power they had. Their unity was eroding, and both men were to blame. The question was whether they could ever mend the damage, or if their actions had permanently damaged the legacy they had created together. Now, let's talk about Chrissy, since she was, of course, Jim's longtime partner and the focal point of this entire feud. Regardless of whether that was accurate or not, Chrissy's role in this scandal only served to increase the mystery surrounding it. Was she merely a pawn in this game, or did she have personal reasons for remaining silent as everything fell apart? The worst part is that it wasn't just about the men anymore. It was also about their families, their reputations, and everything they had worked so hard to build over the years. The longer this went on, the more people who had previously supported both men were now separating themselves from them, because they didn't want to be caught in the crossfire of a feud that was getting out of hand. At this point, we must ask whether there is any chance for reconciliation, whether Jim and Cam can ever mend what's broken, or whether this feud is actually the end of the Dipset era and the legacy they left behind. Spent years creating is now in jeopardy, and not only are their reputations at stake, but also their place in hip-hop history books. However, the question remains after everything that has transpired. Is there any hope for a resolution as the lawsuits mount, public sentiment changes, and the music industry waits? One thing is certain, though. The story isn't finished yet. The last chapters have not yet been written. The truth about the Jim Jones and Camron feud, the shattered bond, and the explosive fallout that is rocking the hip-hop world. But here's the real question, and I want to hear your thoughts. Who's at fault here? Was it Cam's betrayal that started it all? Or was Jim's own greed and ambition the spark that ignited it? The question still stands. Who will win this epic battle of brotherhood, betrayal, and broken bonds? If you enjoyed this in-depth look at the chaos, please hit the like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe for more explosive content. I promise you won't want to miss what's coming next. The world is watching, and the drama is far from over. Let me know in the comments below if you think they can ever put out the fire, or if this is the end of Dipset's reign. For today's incredible story, but before you leave, I need to know what you think. Do you think Jim Jones had the right to target Camron in this way, or did Camron get a raw deal? If you haven't subscribed yet, please leave your thoughts in the space provided below. I'm reading every single one of them, so I'd like to know if you're on the side of Jim or Cam, or if you believe that this whole situation has been a complete mess from the beginning. We're just getting started, and you want to be here for the real tea, so don't forget to like, comment, and share this video to keep the conversation coming. Until next time, keep your eyes open, stay tuned, and as always, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you're the first to know when we drop the next wild story. We're not scared to reveal the truth. We'll see you in the next one.